John Dryden's Alexander's Feast, or The Power of Music, is, as its subtitle informs the reader, an ode in honor of Saint Cecilia's Day. It is, in fact, Dryden's second poem in honor of this saint, Saint Cecilia. Saint Cecilia was a saint in the Christian Catholic tradition. The patron saint of music, and according to tradition, the inventor of the pipe organ. Therefore, the poem is not merely a tribute to the saint, but also a poem about the power of music. It has been set to music three times, the third and definitive setting that of John Friedrich Handel. The narrative framework is suggested by Plutarch Alexander, in which the author describes Alexander's feast for his officers celebrating the defeat of Persia. At this feast, according to Plutarch, Alexander's mistress, Thais, persuaded Alexander to burn the Persian capital in revenge for the Persians' burning of her home city of Athens. Now we will summarize the poem and analyze it. Alexander the Great, the son of King Philip, is sitting on a throne in a city in Persia where he is accompanied by beautiful Thais. As we have noted earlier, Thais was the mistress of Alexander and she was also considered as a courtesan. Along with other Greek soldiers, they are drinking wine while they celebrate their defeat of the Persian Empire. Then enters the musician as well as soldier, Timotheus, who begins to play his lyre, Lyre. Lyre. Lyre is a musical organ. The lyre's beautiful melodies seem to the soldiers to bring God down from heaven. It is noteworthy that these gods and goddesses are in ancient Greek tradition. As Timotheus continues to play his lyre, the soldiers consume more and more wine, including Alexander. It must be noted that these Greek gods and goddesses are pagans. The term pagan refers to unchristian. Because of the music and the wine, Alexander has become so drunk that he begins to relive all his battles in his mind, which starts to cause him to go slowly mad. Alexander becomes mad with fury, as he remembers his long foregone battles. Eventually, Alexander begins to relive the death of the Persian king Darius. After the Greek victory, Darius was betrayed and killed by his own men, and his body is left in the open. Though Darius had Alexander's father killed, he was still a king, and no one, especially a king, should be murdered and his body left out in the dirt with his eyes open, which was an act of dishonor to the Greeks. Alexander then begins to cry. Seeing this, Timotheus begins to sing a song about love, hoping that it will cause Alexander to pull himself together. Instead, it only causes him to become more overwhelmed with emotion that he collapses into Thais' chest. To prevent Alexander from appearing weak in front of other Greek soldiers, Timotheus begins to sing a rousing song calling for the soldiers to take revenge against the Persians for all the Greek deaths in the battle. Thais succeeds in waking Alexander. However, he goes into a frenzy and, caught in the moment, orders his men to burn the city to the ground. Horrified at the chaos, Timotheus tries to play his flute in order to quell the riot, but to no avail. Eventually, Saint Cecilia descends from heaven and stops the riot, but it's too late to stop the burning of the city, but is able to stop further deaths. The theme of Dryden's Alexander's Feast is a lofty one, which shows the power of music to modify the thoughts and feelings of men. The poem is an ode which is in the ancient days was intended to be sung but now means a rhymed lyric in the form of an address, generally dignifying or exalted in subject, feeling, and style. The poem is not a creation with regularity in the meter and arrangement of lines. The poem can therefore be classified as an irregular ode. As the theme of the poem is developed in a lyric way, the development is not essentially logical, but a poem is different from the mathematical problem, for the latter appeals to reasoning while the former appeals to imagination and emotion. Judged in this way, Alexander's Feast is one of the biggest feathers in Dryden's cap. He has skillfully dramatized a situation, namely a banquet in Alexander's life, presented his pride, his infatuation, and finally his impetuous deed of setting fire to Persepolis. The poem begins with a description of Alexander the Great sitting on his throne, flanked by his peers as he is seated with Thais. She sits beside him, an Athenian woman dowered with marvelous beauty.